What's up guys, Kyle here again, and today we are checking out the Soldano SLO30. Let's do it! Alright guys, hope you're doing great out there today. If this is your first time here at my channel, my name is Kyle, and what I do is I take awesome high gain amplifiers, guitars, cabs, speakers, overdrives, pickups, I record them through a simple SM57 setup, and I give you guys the unprocessed audio on your end. So if you're into E standard thrash riffs, drop C hardcore riffs, and dudes whose shorts won't quit riding up, you're in the right place. Consider hitting the like button and subscribing on your way out so you don't miss any more of my stuff. Thanks! Alright guys, so today it is my distinct pleasure to demo for you the Soldano SLO30. This is the 30-watt version of the legendary SLO100 amplifier, and honestly, I can tell you that it absolutely lives up to its bigger brother or father or whatever you want to refer to it as. It brings everything that you would expect from the SLO100 in a smaller, more affordable, more transportable package. And if I have to be honest guys, I think I might like the SLO30 a little bit more than the SLO100 because the low end on this amp just seems to be a little bit more in check. It seems to be slightly more modern, slightly tighter, but it still has everything that you love about the SLO. All of that sparkle that you get out of this thing when you ring out those big open chords, and the bloom and the voicing, it is all here in this amplifier. So yeah, I'm pretty much giving away the video before I actually really play through the amp. So I'm gonna go ahead, I'm gonna put this thing over on the Crunch channel, and we are going to check out what this amp has to offer on both the Crunch and the Overdrive channels. I haven't even played the Crunch on this channel yet, just because I plugged into the Overdrive channel when I got it, and it sounded incredible right off the bat. So I will mention real quick at the beginning of the video that I'm gonna be offering a Kemper profile pack with the Soldano SLO. We're gonna do a bunch of direct profiles of this, one with just the preamp, one with just the amp itself. I'm actually gonna run the amp into the bigger power section of a couple of other really cool amplifiers that I have, and then we're gonna bake in a couple overdrives, and then I'll give you one or two studio profiles with an overdrive built in going into my front-loaded Soldano cab with K100s and V30s. So if you guys are interested in that, check down in the description. I will tell you how to get those if you're interested. Let's jump into the amplifier. All right guys, so we are on the Crunch channel. Real quick, I will mention I am playing my Balaguer Typhon with the Duncan Distortion bridge pickup in it, and in that intro clip, we had an MXR M77 badass modified overdrive on in front of the amp. I have turned that overdrive off. The amp is going into a Mesa traditional 4x12 cab with the stock vintage 30s SM57 on that V30 where the dust cap meets the cone. We are on, again, the Crunch channel. I don't know how many times I have to say that. Everything is back at noon as far as the EQ controls. We've got the gain down at 9 o'clock. Nice chimey edge of breakup. We are on the Crunch setting because we don't do cleans here at Belligerent Amateur Studios, so don't even think about asking about it. The bright switch is on because I find that this channel is rather dull without it. Kind of loses everything that's nice about the overdrive on the Soldano in my opinion. So the bright switch is going to be an always on type deal. We're going to go ahead and bump that gain right away. And again, nice edge of breakup. That is going into the Crunch territory very easily. We're gonna go ahead and push that up to noon. I really don't feel like the EQ needs adjusting at all. It sounds nice and balanced with everything at noon. It's a nice tone as is. So let's go ahead. Again, I really don't feel like I need to touch much on the EQ. It's doing pretty much what I would want it to do. So here we are with the gain up at around 2 o'clock. So yeah, the gain is starting to fill things out quite a bit. We're starting to get a little bit of a saturation. You're not going to be using this channel for high gain stuff unless you are really slamming the front end with some sort of very hot boost or EQ or something. So this is mainly just gonna be for, you know, the dad rock riffs, the 80s hair metal stuff, especially if you're boosting it, but it's not gonna get you into the high gain thrash territory. Great string clarity and definition. The saturation on this channel is much crunchier and fatter than it is on the Overdrive channel. The Overdrive channel is much smoother and more compressed and really kind of very reminiscent of what you're gonna hear in most modern high gain amplifiers. The Crunch channel is, again, just kind of crunchy. It's got that classic style saturation where things are a little bit broken up sounding. That's with the gain pretty much all the way on. Here it is maxed out. Still plenty of note clarity, but it is starting to get a little bit congested. Let's bump that treble. Let's bump that mid-range up. I don't feel like I have to touch anything else if I'm going for that kind of overdriven hard rock style tone. That is it right there. Very little is needed to get into a great tonal territory on this channel. That is such an awesome sound. Let's see though, because most of the people who are coming to my channel are here for the belligerent amateur power chord and thrash riffs and high gain stuff. So let's see if we can get this channel to do that. I'm gonna click on the SD1 and click it over to the custom side of my Wazacraft. We're gonna add a little drive. All right, so it's almost there, a little harsh up top. Let's get a little bit more bass. Very fat, definitely not tight on this channel. Let's try another overdrive real quick and then we will move ourselves over to the lead channel. Let's try that MXR M77 again and let's add some drive from that pedal. Again, this channel definitely a little bit too fat for those types of tones. In my personal opinion, it does the 70s and 80s thing just about as good as any amp I've ever heard trying to do that stuff. So that is what the Crunch channel is gonna be for. Let's go over to the Overdrive channel. Let's experience some belligerence here. We're gonna turn the Overdrive down to about 9 o'clock. All the EQ settings are gonna be back to noon and that Overdrive is off. Here's what we have. All right, a little bit uninspiring, a little undergained. Let's turn that gain up to 3 o'clock. There it is, and like I said, this amp just seems to have somewhat of a tighter response than its bigger brother. The SLO30, the one thing I never really liked about it, and I love the amp, but the low end is not modern in any sense of the word. It is a little bit slow, it is flubby, it takes a lot to tighten it up. You really have to have the right setup around the amp. And even then, there are other amps that I would choose in front of it for that sole reason. I love the voicing of the amp, but the low end is just really where it suffers, in my opinion, for the more modern tones. This amp, though, you definitely get a little bit of a tighter low end to start. So let's add a little depth, bass, and presence. All right, let's add a little bit of mid and treble to match that, just to get everything nice and even. The string clarity and when you ring out on this amp is incredible. I love it. Let's dial the depth back though. Better. We'll kick in a boost in a little bit, but let's get that overdrive up to noon. Again, the note bloom and the sustain and the clarity on those big chords is what I really love about the SLO. Not a super tight amp. It is very saturated, but not, again, it's kind of like, it's just the low end. It's the low end that keeps me from loving it for the modern stuff, but we can kind of fix that on this amp with the overdrive pedal in front. But here we go with the overdrive up around 2 o'clock. All right, so it's really starting to get kind of tubby now. Let's get it up a little bit higher and let's play kind of like a punk rock riff and see how that sounds. I'm actually going to turn the low end down because the amp does fill up or fill out as the overdrive is turned up. Sounds great, it's just that low end that's killing me. So I know this is going to piss off a lot of the purists, but if this makes you angry, I'm actually happy that it makes you angry. We're gonna put an overdrive in front of this amp. Back to the MXR M77 because that was pairing really well with this amp earlier. All right, now we have kind of that modern clank going on in the mids. Let's actually pull the high or the treble back a little bit. Let's get that bass up, let's get that depth up. All right, so one thing I do want to do, let's pull that treble back. Let's get the presence up. That kind of adds to the top end sizzle of this amp. Let's pull the depth back and get a little bit more bass. The depth is what seems to make this amp seem a little bit more tubby. I love ringing out chords on this amp. This may be my favorite amp in the world to just ring a big chord out because of the way that the note kind of blooms and all of that, just the harmonics that you're getting out of this thing, it's incredible. It sounds so good for that. Now for the thrash thing, it's not my favorite because it's still, even though it's tighter now, it's not the tightest. Let's pull back the mids just a tad, pull the bass up a little bit. We're getting it closer to a modern low-end type sound, but again, it's just got that inherent thing going on. I'm gonna push the overdrive just a little bit more. The overdrive at 4 is more than enough with a boost out in front. This amp has a lot more gain than I originally thought it was going to, the SLO in general. It has no problem getting into the high gain territory, so here's a riff. It does sound really good. There are some goofy frequencies on this amp for sure, but overall it sounds great. adjusting the EQ a little bit. We're gonna try the KHDK Ghoul Screamer. I'm gonna throw my pick and maybe break my boost board while I'm at it. So this one does not tighten up the low end nearly as much. Let's pull that bass back. Let's get a little bit more treble because it's not as bright. Yeah, this amp sounds really good. Again, not the tightest in the world, I'll keep saying it. I really enjoy this thing. Let's go down to drop D. I'll play a riff in drop D and we'll call it a day. But yeah, this amp sounds phenomenal. Again, it wouldn't be my first choice for thrash. The low end just isn't quite tight or modern enough for my personal taste, the way that I like to dial things in. If I were to get this in a front-loaded cab, I think that that would really help things out quite a bit. My Soldano front-loaded 412 is insanely tight and punchy, and it tightens up just about any amp I throw at it. Whereas the Mesa cabs inherently are just, they have a little bit more sag in them for whatever reason. I'm not sure why. It could be the flavor of the V30 that Mesa gets, but I've noticed that these cabs definitely do not help tighten up loose amps. They're not a flubby cab. They just have an inherent thing going on with them. I believe it's the way that the mids are voiced that just, there's a little bit more low mid content. I don't know, I'm talking too much. But anyways, let's go to drop D. Alright guys, that is going to do it for me on the Soldano SLO30. What did you guys think about this thing? I personally am in love with it. I just sold it to my buddy Joe Ballagher just because I need to keep things moving here. Thank you, Joe, for the purchase. But I will definitely have another one of these here in the Belligerent Amateur Studios again at some point because I think that this amp just sounds absolutely phenomenal. Phenomenal. I added a letter. Why not? That's how good it sounds. But for real, like for my band Human Animal that's a little bit more on the punk rock New York hardcore side, I would have absolutely no issues using this amp for that band for a show or something. I think it sounds great. It just needs a little bit more tightness in the low end to get it to those more modern metal or thrash metal type sounds. But overall, it is one of the best amps that you could ring open big chords on. It just has such an awesome harmonic sparkle to it. The notes bloom so well. It's just got such a pleasing voicing. I love this thing, I really do. And yeah, I'm curious to see what you guys thought about it on your end. Let me know down in the comments as always, and I'll make sure to meet you guys down there to chat about it. If you want to support the channel, what it is I do here, down in the description of this video are all my support links, including my Sweetwater affiliate link, my DistroKid affiliate link, my Eargasm affiliate link. I've got all sorts of stuff down there that you guys can check out that not only helps you, but helps me and helps the channel move forward. So I would greatly appreciate it if you did that. Or if you want to help the channel directly, you can join my Patreon community and add your name to this list of incredible people who support the channel by donating to Patreon every month. I seriously appreciate it so much. And as an added side effect, all of you forever, whether you want me to or not. Don't forget about those Kemper profiles. If you are a Kemper owner and you want to get some awesome profiles of this amplifier, I have those available, $5 for the pack. Check down below in the description for the details on that. Thanks so much for watching, guys. Kyle here again. We'll see you next time.